You're listening to iCannabisRadio.com.
Hi, you're listening to my mom, Georgia Edson, on iCannabisRadio.com.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. It's Monday, the 22nd of July, 2013. Holy smokers. This summer is flying by. And I am fresh from a trip to New York and a trip to Las Vegas and back to work and in the studio with our guest today, Michele LeMay, who's going to be on later on to talk about her latest and greatest activities, including the newest legislative piece, prohibit penalties for the possession of cannabis. We'll tell you all about that in just a little bit. Of course, Chris is behind the magic that happens. He says hello. And Amy, I'm really, really, really happy if you're listening tonight. And of course, the show would not be complete if I wasn't sitting next to Sam. What's up?
Hey, Georgia, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. You've been all over this country.
It has been really interesting. So last week, as you guys know, I flew out to New York City on Tuesday to film the Katie Couric show. The show's called Katie, that aired on Friday, and we're going to talk a little bit about that later on. It was, I have to say, it was a great experience. But here's how sort of geeky I am. Like, I get that particular episode of a quasi news show was one of the most positive marijuana shows in recent history. Sanjay Gupta does a fantastic segment with our own local Chaz Moore and how medical marijuana, how marijuana has revolutionized Chaz's quality of life, his being, his ability to function. Cheryl Schumann and her daughter Amy are working magic to make marijuana mainstream. And then there was me. And it was like, I'm so honored to have been a part of all of that, and it was so fantastic. But here's how geeky I am. So I get all of that was so wonderful, and am so thrilled that I got to be a part of that. But you know what was really cool that I got to do last week?
What?
I got to run in Central Park. I was thank you, Katie Couric, for bringing me to New York to be on your show. I loved it. But I loved feeling like a New Yorker. On Wednesday morning, I got up. They put me up in this adorable boutique hotel, literally right across the street from a place called The Pearl. Check it out. Literally right across the street from where the Jersey Boys is playing on Broadway.
Oh, that's awesome.
A block down from where Chicago has been playing on Broadway for God knows how long. So just a few blocks from Times Square and about, not quite half a mile from Central Park. So as you guys know, I didn't get into the New York City Marathon this year, so I faked it on Wednesday morning. I got up and put on my running clothes, and I was like, I'm going to look like a New Yorker. I'm going to look like I know what I'm doing, and I've been there before, and I'm going to go run like a New Yorker. Walked out the front door of the hotel, and God almighty, I have never experienced the heat that hit me like it did on Wednesday morning. And I'm from South Florida. I understand heat and humidity. I lived there through summers and craziness. Well, I'm now a wuss. Colorado has made me a baby. I walk outside, I get smacked in the face with this heat and humidity, and I look at the bellman and I'm like, it's 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, how hot is it? He's like, well, it's pretty freaking hot. I'm like, yeah, I got that. So my goal was to enter the park through Columbus Circle, which is where the marathoners run into Central Park to finish the marathon. And can I be really honest? I pretended. In my head, I'm like, it's mile 25 and a half, or whatever it is at the end when they enter the park. And it was fantastic. But I am so impressed with New Yorkers. I felt like the least fit person in the park. I mean, people of all ages, all shapes and sizes, kicking ass around the park. And I'm like sweating and, hot and bothered. Didn't have any water with me because, of course, I don't think about it.
Okay.
I was going 5 miles. To me, that's not like I can run 5 miles without a glass of water. It's not a big deal. Damn. It was hot, but it was fantastic. So that was my kind of, I don't know. It was just one of those moments that I kind of will remember forever. And a couple of years ago, Warren and I went to New York. He was speaking at something that Warren was speaking at, and Bob Melamede was with us on the airplane. And Bob's a runner also. And he grew up in New York, and he's like, "Oh, I'll take you for a run in Central Park." So we got to the hotel, we changed clothes, we met up to go for a run, and he wasn't feeling well. So instead, we walked around for 2.5 hours and went and visited his aunt, who has lived in the same apartment on the Upper West Side for 30-something years. And I was wearing completely inappropriate clothes to go visit his aunt, but nonetheless, we did that. So this was really my first time running in Central Park, and hats off to New Yorkers. Man, I was impressed. I was impressed, and it was great. Came back, ran and got something to eat, of course, because my day is not complete unless I've had all 3 meals and some snacks. And so got something to eat, got ready to go to the Katie show, and got picked up by the driver, who, I kid you not, was the greatest guy ever. We're talking, and he said, "What do you do in Denver?" And I said, "Well, I own an internet radio station." And he said, "Oh, have I ever heard of it? What's it called?" So I said, "iCannabis Radio." "Cannabis? Do you know what that is? Do you know what cannabis is?" And I said, "Well, I know what cannabis is. Do you?" And he's like, "Well, I know what cannabis, but why do you call it? Why is it called that?" And he was like giddy. He like couldn't believe that I said the word cannabis in his car. And I said, "Well, because all of the shows on this station revolve around personal freedoms and the truth and knowledge and education around cannabis." And he was so excited. Then I told him that's why I was going on the Katie show, and he could not believe that Katie was going to do a show about cannabis. And so if you are listening, driver of the Lincoln, last Wednesday morning, you made my day. You made me giggle, and I hope you were indeed listening, because he said he was going to go home. He's going to check us out. That's awesome. So thank you. It was wonderful to be in your car, and you were wonderful, and I think I shocked you, which is exactly what I like to see happen, because we're all about letting people know that getting out of that cannabis closet is a good thing and a good thing to do. So we get to the Katie show, and I get to the Katie show, and I go in through the back door of ABC, which, truth be told, it was dingy. It was dingy and a little bit dirty, and I was a little surprised. And then I went into the green room, and the green room was this big warehouse that was really tall ceilings, because of course it's a sound studio, and they have 3 living room kind of things set up. So you go in and you make yourself at home in these very cute like sets, and they use that furniture for the show and stuff. And there's people taking care of you, and I got my hair and makeup done and all those kinds of things. And the girls were like, "You're so pretty," and it was cute. And Cheryl and Amy Schumann came, and we all talked and hung out, and got a debriefing of what the show was going to be like, and I started to get excited, like not necessarily nervous, but excited. And we were taken behind the stage, and the audience was there, and the woman whose responsibility it is to kind of prep the audience and get them excited was out there telling jokes, and they were clapping and laughing and having a great time. And they brought me out, because I was sitting in the studio, and they threw questions at me from the stage, which Cheryl, bless her heart, was so upset. She's like, "I thought you were going to be on stage with us." I'm like, "Oh, it was fine. It was great, and I loved it." So I sit down in front, and there was a young girl sitting next to me, and you can kind of see, if you ever watch the video, her eyes kind of pop out of her head when they throw this marijuana question at me, because of course the audience doesn't know what the show's about. And what she knows is, I'm sitting in that front seat next to her. They come up. She knows I'm mic'd, and they come up and they take a lint brush and they lint my chest and fluff my hair a little bit. And so she's clear that I'm going to somehow be on the show. And then they do the Reefer Madness clip, the audience kind of moves around a little bit, and you can tell they're like, oh, a little bit surprised that we're going to be talking about pot. And they look at Cheryl and Amy, and the audience is confused. I mean, here are these beautiful professional women, and they're going to somehow, oh my gosh, not just talk about pot, but these are the women who are going to talk about marijuana in Beverly Hills, and so Cheryl and Amy do this fantastic job, and then Katie does this little intro, and it's longer they edited it out, but it's longer. So I knew that she was going to come to me. I had a little bit more time to kind of prep, but the girl sitting next to me, I could feel her go, which when she realizes that I was going to be this marijuana mom, that I was going to be the person talking about marijuana. And my son said, bless his heart. So I talked to him the next day after it aired, and he said, he answers the phone because he's been staying with his grandparents all summer, answers the phone, and he says, Mom, you were awesome. And I was like, oh, that's great. That's all I needed to hear. And then he said, you had your nervous face on, but you were still awesome. It was so cute because he's the first person that has said that. But it's true. I look at myself and I'm like, that is definitely my nervous face.
I can kind of see a little bit of nervous, but I mean, you got your message through. And
thank you.
Yeah, that was awesome. You did a great job.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that so much, Sam. I do. I think what's interesting to me is that, I mean, I do this every single week. I have talked about marijuana publicly so many times. It's really weird when you are asked to talk about yourself. Mm-hmm. I at least found myself wanting to choose my words extremely carefully and be extremely thoughtful about each individual word and word placement. And I didn't want to script myself beforehand, but I knew I wanted people to know. I mean, let me back up. The reason why they chose me, I believe, was because my relationship with cannabis is a little bit unique. So I'm full on legalization. And I didn't, by the way, say what I said I was going to say, which is if Katie asked me what's next after this marijuana legalization, that we'll talk about legalization of prostitution. Mm-hmm. I didn't get a chance to say that. But if she asks me in the future, I'll definitely talk on that one too. But I again, I mean, we started kind of this whole conversation about and the driver story reminds me, we really want people to know that people who use cannabis, people who support cannabis legalization, are every single aspect of society. Old and young and blue and purple and educated and, hard workers and all of these things and none of these things. And there is no demographic that really represents cannabis legalization or activism or even use. It's everywhere. And the producer said something to me beforehand. She was telling me that Katie might ask a question, and I forget how she framed it, but something about, do you think that using cannabis affects your ability to parent? And it wasn't said in a way that was a positive spin, but it was sort of that assumption of you can't use pot and be a good parent. Mm-hmm. And she said that she might ask that question, but she's going to look at you and probably not ask that question. And I took that to mean that Katie has a stereotype in her head. And I may not fit that stereotype. And I wish she would have asked me the question. I really do. I really do. Because if you saw the picture that was up there, it was a picture of my son and I having just completed a 5K race at Red Rocks. The hardest race that we do all year is, you start at the top of the amphitheater and you run down and then you run across, and that last mile straight up Red Rocks and you go back up the amphitheater. I mean, it's a tough one, and you're going to do it with us this year, aren't you? Yes, you are. And so I mean, I think we're mainstream. I think officially we are no longer a counterculture. I think that we have crossed into mainstream. And we've talked several times about television shows, for example, that have marijuana themes. And today I've got some stuff to talk about with that as well. But that day, last Friday on ABC, was Marijuana Moms Day. Good Morning America had the story, and it was a fantastic little episode. Then, of course, the Katie Show, and then 2020 that night. People were inundated with marijuana stories. People were inundated with marijuana moms stories. And to me, and Michele, I know that you agree with me, to me, the women in this movement are vital because where women go, so goes the world. And I'm not just talking about the ending prohibition of alcohol. I'm talking about the creation and the fabric of our nation. I mean, women are so vital, and because we are perceived as gentler, I think that when we get to the place where we as women speak out against things that have been controversial or may continue to be controversial, people listen because women are talking about it. It's not taboo. I talked on national television about my relationship with cannabis. And you know what my 80-year-old parents said? Who were not hippies. I mean, they're older than that era. I mean, my mom, I would be willing to say that my mom has... Mom, you've never seen marijuana, I don't think. Yeah, I'm willing to bet that she has never seen marijuana in person. Yeah, she has seen everything on TV. But she was so excited. She was so excited. I was just talking about my siblings were really excited. And it wasn't just, my daughter was on Katie. I mean, that was certainly fun for her to tell people that. But she felt like the topic was so relatable, so well received. She thought that Sanjay Gupta did an amazing job geared at Middle America, geared towards helping people who don't have the relationship with cannabis that we all have relate and understand. I mean, people respect Sanjay. He's been on CNN for forever, and he's intelligent, and he comes across so logically in all that he does. And in that clip, and we're going to show it later on in the show, in that clip, he's really passionate. And what I will say before we take a quick break, and we'll come back with Michele, the whole taping, our segment taped for roughly an hour, and that included kind of the beginning and a couple little retakes and some set changes and those kinds of things. And Sanjay spoke probably for 10 minutes for what turned out to be 5.5, 6 minutes. And what was edited out was nothing dramatic. There was nothing, I don't think there was anything edited out that I was like, darn, I really wish that would have been in there. Because he got his point across. But one of the things he said, and he said it at the end of his piece, was that, again, no one's ever died from using cannabis, and how hypocritical it is that all of these prescription medications are prescribed by doctors every single day, and every 19 minutes someone dies from a prescription drug overdose, and no one has ever died from cannabis. And he's not a drinker, he's not a smoker, and he says, I don't have a dog in this fight. Right. I just want this to make sense. And I almost got on stage and kissed him. It almost happened. Like, I had to restrain myself because I thought that security would probably have taken me away. But anyway, it was good. And we're going to talk a little bit about that later on in the show, but we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, it is the Michele LeMay Show. We'll be right back. I'm Georgia, and you're listening to iCannabis Radio.
The law offices of Edson, Maton, and Matz provide criminal defense, medical marijuana defense, and advice about setting up and running medical marijuana centers, optional premises cultivation operations, and infused product manufacturing businesses throughout Colorado. With offices in Denver and Aspen, we can offer assistance throughout the entire state of Colorado. Give us a call at 303-831-8188. That's 303-831-8188. Or visit us online at warrenedson.com.
High up in the Rockies is beautiful Frisco, Colorado. Medical Marijuana of the Rockies is a medical marijuana center with compassion for Colorado's medical patients. Looking for great meds grown organically in soil? You've come to the right place. Medical Marijuana of the Rockies is just off I-70 at exit 203. Check them out at the web at www.mmrockies.com. Their ever-changing strain and clone selection is updated on the website daily. When making a trip to the mountains, no matter the season, stop by Medical Marijuana of the Rockies. Make sure you say you heard about them on iCannabis Radio. You can call 970-668-MEDS to get more information. Medical Marijuana of the Rockies, your mountain source for meds.
Green Faith Ministry is for spiritual guidance, MMJ information, and networking combined with compassionate care on the way to enlightenment with all Green Faith sacraments. Green Faith provides charity assistance, including medical and food throughout the year. Contact them at greenfaithministry.com.
Yeah. Hi, we're back. I'm Georgia, and we are in the studio with my friend Michele LeMay. You have not been on the show for months and months and months, and I am sorry about that because I love having you on the show. I do.
Thank you.
I do. The last time I saw you, we were at Deb's birthday party, remember?
Yes.
And I said, I think I said, oh my God, I need to get you on the show. And I'm glad that you contacted me a couple of weeks ago because you've got big stuff going on. But before we talk about that, tell us a little bit about who the heck you are.
Oh, well, I'm Michele LeMay, and I'm an entrepreneur. And,
To say the least.
When Obama said he'd call off the dogs in 2008, I had just received my master's degree in education 18 months before, but became disabled just shortly after that. My sister told me, sent me an article about Oaksterdam University, and I thought, whoa, that's for me, education. I mean,
That's right.
I was so frustrated, I was going to go drag 14-year-olds in off of Colfax and teach them how to read.
Yeah.
So that's been very successful. I've had over 500 students that I would still call real good friends. I mean,
Good.
It's been a great experience. We're going on our 5th year in October. That was
Wow.
October 8th.
Excellent.
When I came up with the name Cannabis University.
I love it.
And I am a wordsmith, and I have a degree in mass communication, so I've been on the internet since 1992.
Wow.
And I was able to market and socialize and go after my cause, which has always been legalization.
How and why?
Well, I've used cannabis since I was 21 years old. I went to college late in life. I lived my life kind of backwards, and I was over in Mesa County, going to Mesa State. In 1992, I graduated. And I was just sitting over there because there's no jobs. And in 1994, an initiative came up to legalize hemp.
Hemp. Mm-hmm.
And I got 5,000, I got a table in the mall. And that's the only mall between Denver and Salt Lake City.
Wow.
And it was
Wow.
great. I only had one irate middle school teacher attack me. But I put out, verbally.
Sure, of course.
I put out this big pot leaf. I have it today. Had an artist make it for me. He said, what can I do? I said, just make me one big pot leaf on this yellow poster board, I just put that in front, and there people just came up and signed. That's why I know from 1994
That's right.
that there are stoners everywhere in Colorado.
Right.
Even if they live in a very conservative place like Mesa County,
Yeah.
they're not responsible for, usually, because people are afraid to vote, maybe don't vote. They don't take active participation in these county commissioners that are running
That's
their
right.
lives. 3 people banning retail stores. They'll be gone. They'll be gone. 3 years, I think it'll change. And I hope it changes. Because of Initiative 3.
Yes, tell us about Initiative 3.
Well, in 2012, I prepared this initiative because, and it feels like it, and I think everybody would agree, I was angry and I was disappointed in July of 2011. And I wondered why A64 started collecting signatures early. And I'm a paralegal, you know, and remember the Colorado Bar Association had the statutes in my home. So I spent 3 days wondering, looking at the election rules, then moving on. And I don't know, maybe I had this in the back of my head. But I thought there'd be a back door because I was disappointed in the legislators. They're cowards. They'll never legalize cannabis, never, 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 on their own. And in Colorado, thank gosh, 13 states in the union have the initiative process. And I haven't worked on it, know a lot about it. So I wrote this initiative. It's 481 words.
Yes, it's very concise.
It's much different than any other initiative, I believe, because it's actually a judicial decree.
Decree.
It tells the judiciary branch something to do, which I don't believe has ever been done in our Constitution before, and leaves the legislative branch out completely. If this passes, or if it would have passed in 2012, I collected about 20,000 signatures around the state, made contacts, learned a lot of lessons. If this would have passed, there would have been no task force. There would have been a little memo, just like it says, to every municipality in the state. I even investigated, and buried in the statutes is the fact that the legislature can call a special court.
Oh.
And I even covered that.
Yep.
So people expected me, I think, this time around. I'm following in the footsteps of Douglas Bruce and submitting it every 2 years until it passes. Because this is what happened to Douglas Bruce. He submitted it. He submitted every 2 years. We have a general election. Until the taxpayers realized that the man was right, and they were spending every dime down there at the Capitol in not funding education in Colorado, and not doing what they were supposed to do. And who hates Tabor more than a legislator? They're really the only people that do. Because I think Tabor saved us from a big recession.
I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of Tabor, but we could talk about that another time.
That's why I submitted it again in the very same language.
Yeah.
I believe in what I wrote. I believe in the reasons I wrote it in the first 2 paragraphs.
So let's talk about this just for just a second. So Section 17, prohibit penalties for the possession of cannabis. The purpose and findings. The purpose of this section is to direct the judiciary branch of all governing bodies in the state of Colorado to prohibit and relieve their courts from imposing any fine or sentence for the possession of cannabis. Leave it alone.
Absolutely.
Leave it alone. B, it's the interest of the people of the state of Colorado that the courts be prohibited and relieved from imposing a fine or sentence for the possession of cannabis because the people find that the punishment for possession of cannabis exceeds the fiscal and social costs that possessing cannabis imposes on the people of Colorado.
Absolutely. How many of your moms, how many of us women, grandmothers and mothers, see our family members with felonies absolutely ruin their lives
That's right.
for possession of cannabis?
That's right.
And today, 2 ounces and 1 gram is a felony.
Yep.
And if it should be enforced, it will ruin that person's life just as much as it would ruin yours.
Absolutely.
You already have little expectation of that.
Right. That's right. That's right. It is in the interest of the people of the state of Colorado that the courts be prohibited and relieved from imposing a fine or sentence for the possession of cannabis because the people find that the punishment is inconsistent with the damage possessing cannabis imposes on the people of Colorado.
There you go.
Match the harm with the punishment. There's not a harm. There shouldn't be a punishment.
I believe the courts will have to show, or the state will have to show actually the cost.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll have to show the harm, and all the harm has come from enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said.
That's right.
It hasn't killed anyone, hasn't killed any children. All the harm is from enforcement.
That's right.
And if it starts anywhere, if the nail is put in the coffin,
That's right.
as I say, it's got to be in Colorado.
So what happens here? You need to get signatures.
Yes.
Okay.
And I need to raise a lot of money to do that because
Great.
that's what it takes.
Yes.
A64 taught us that.
That's right. That's right.
And I have a PayPal account on the website.
The website is?
reliefforpossession.webs.com.
Okay.
Anywhere you look under my name on Google, I just Googled my own name to make sure I had no scandals that came up in the last few days.
We love scandals. Darn it.
And under my name and on my Facebook and everything, anybody can get to that site.
So when
and
are you
call
going to
me.
When are you going to start collecting signatures?
After the title board, I've been to legislative services. It's all approved and all legit. And the title board is date set is actually when you have 6 months from that date. So I was thinking coming over here this week, a year from now, July 22nd, we'd be counting them petitions and binding them up and getting ready to send them over to the Secretary of State
Yes.
August 1st. It's my belief that Colorado's got a lot of winter, got a lot of spring, got a lot of summer. You're always fighting that weather.
Yeah.
And I'm going to pay people to get addresses. Last year, 18 months ago, virtually every certified petitioner or collector called me.
Nice.
And wanted, and bid on signatures. So
Good.
There's only a few of these companies that are certified by the Secretary of State. But I'm ready to go, people. Just send me the money.
Tell us the website
and
again.
I will do it.
Yes, tell us the website.
Relief for the numeral 4 possession.webs.com.
Excellent.
And Michele LeMay, LA, capital M-A.
I got it right this time. I got it right this time.
Thank you so much
Excellent.
for all you do and for normalizing cannabis, because this is what it takes.
That's right.
Mainstream. You're mainstream. I look mainstream, but I'm not.
But you are the new mainstream. I mean, you are the new mainstream.
That's right.
Michele LeMay, I'm really excited. Prohibit penalties for the possession of cannabis, Initiative 3. And people need to get on that website and check it out. And that's how you can donate money as well, because it takes money to get signatures and do all the things.
$1.50 a signature.
See?
So we need 150,000 signatures.
All right. And that's how many you need?
I think I can whittle them down to $1.
Okay, perfect.
Because it's an off-season election.
Perfect. Well, I'm really excited. Thank you so much for being with us today. You're listening to iCannabis Radio. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back.
Whether you are a commercial grower or cultivate as a hobby, No Dough Urban Garden Supply is Denver's first stop for your hydroponic grow needs. With a wide range of products including House and Garden, Botanicare, and Fox Farm, their knowledgeable staff can get you started on your first garden or help you with your well-established business. No Dough Urban Garden Supply is located in downtown Denver at 1330 27th Street, 4 blocks north of Coors Field near MMD of Colorado. They are open 6 days a week from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Call 303-296-3424 or visit them on the web at www.nodoughurbangardensupply.com.
Are you a medical marijuana patient or interested in finding out how to become one? Contact Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern. Conveniently located on Hamden and Tamarack in the Whole Foods parking lot behind Proof of the Pudding, Mile High Wellness offers a wide variety of edibles, hashes, and some of Colorado's top strains. Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern. 3525 South Tamarack, Suite 110, on the corner of Hamden and Tamarack. 720-382-8516. Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern.
I'm Gary Johnson, and you're listening to iCannabis Radio, and I want to say, talk it up, Colorado.
Hi, we're back. As always, Michele, thank you so much. Don't forget to check it out. Read the language, and you can like the Facebook page as well. Prohibit penalties for the possession of cannabis. Little logic goes a long way, people. So I've got a couple things I wanted to talk about, and then I want to play this Sanjay Gupta piece in just a little bit. But I was doing a little internet research as I was prepping for the show today, and California Democrats say no to medical marijuana crackdown and federal interference in Colorado and Washington. You guys have got to hear this. This is so good. SoCal activists recently notified us that the California Democratic Party passed 2 historic resolutions on the issue of marijuana at its executive meeting on Sunday. The first resolution called on the President Obama to respect the voters of Colorado and Washington and to not allow any federal intervention in the enactment of their marijuana legalization initiatives. And 2, to end the federal raids on patients and providers in medical marijuana states. And 3, support a commission to look into the reform of our nation's marijuana laws. This was the Democratic Party in California. I mean, that's pretty fantastic. And I think that our politicians, our legislators, and our congressmen are starting to recognize that cannabis supporters vote, and they are politically active, and this whole idea of a lazy stoner is an old stereotype that needs to be removed. And so I applaud the Democrats in California for doing that. It's pretty exciting. President Obama is definitely getting it from all sides. Whether or not that matters to him, we will find out for sure. I wanted to talk a little bit about, well, actually, let's do the Sanjay thing, and then I'm going to talk about country music. Do you listen to country music, Chris, at all, ever? Do you know any country music stars? Well, you will now. We're going to talk about country music. I've never been much of a country music fan. I feel like, talk about mainstream, I feel like country music is no longer just people who live in the South, or it's not kind of redneck music anymore. Again, those are terrible stereotypes. It's now, it's really normalized now, and there's this whole crossover country music stars that have hit kind of the Billboard Top 40, not just pop music or what have you. But we're going to talk a little bit about country music and marijuana. Interesting. But right now, I want to get back to the Katie show because I can, and this is my 1 week where people will tolerate me talking about Katie Couric. And I want you guys to see this clip from. You've got to watch the whole segment and the 2020 segment, and again, Sanjay Gupta's documentary that he does called Weed on CNN that airs the first week of August. But I just want to show this little clip from Katie Couric's interview with Sanjay. Let's listen.
Because it could potentially help people who really need it. And it's not being offered.
14.
Not in this country.
Let me ask you if it's a gateway drug, because we often hear that, you smoke pot, then you're more likely to abuse even more dangerous substances.
We're going to go back just a little bit to 1448.
Morphine has no medicinal benefit. Innovation in your brain. 19 minutes has no medicinal. People whose brains are still developing.
Marijuana is listed in Schedule 1 of the
sorry.
People whose brains
there
are
we
still
go.
developing.
Marijuana is listed in Schedule 1 of the Controlled Substances Act, the most restrictive schedule. Marijuana has a high potential for abuse, has no currently accepted medical use and treatment in the United States, and has a lack of accepted safety for use under medical supervision. Furthermore, there is currently sound evidence that smoked marijuana is harmful. So,
there you go.
Hello, that is completely counter to everything that we've been hearing here today.
It's saying it has no medicinal benefit. There have been at least 100 studies that have shown its medicinal benefit. They say it has a high abuse potential. It is far less addictive than drugs that are scheduled lower than that. This is hypocrisy. And again, I think it riles people up in part in the medical community because it could potentially help people who really need it. And it's not being offered, not in this country.
Let me ask you if it's...
So here's what's fantastic about that. I mean, obviously, we have, again, a mainstream physician who is saying on a daytime talk show, on the Katie Couric show, that it's hypocritical for the FDA to say what they say about cannabis. And he goes on to talk about the hypocrisy of prescribing prescription drugs that actually kill people. And at the end of this segment, Katie Couric asks Sanjay about his daughters. He's got 3 daughters. The oldest one is 8 years of age, the same age as my son. And he says, she asks if at the point in time your daughter turns 21 and she says, "Dad, do you want to smoke a joint? What are you going to do?" And I think he's a little taken aback by the line of questioning because his daughter's 8 and he's got a long time to think about that. But his response is really pretty honest. And he says, I'd like to her to wait until she's a little bit older because brain development continues into your early 20s. But then he finishes with, but I look at it like I look at alcohol, and with marijuana, I really don't see a risk. That's Sanjay's quote. I really don't see that there's a risk. And again, marijuana is mainstream, and Sanjay Gupta calls the FDA hypocritical. And to me, that was a giant step for mankind. That was an amazing statement for someone who, he has a very professional personality. He's a TV physician, and his ratings and his audience are important. And he went out on a limb because what he saw, including what he saw with Colorado's Chaz Moore, is that marijuana makes a difference and it's not harmful. So pretty amazing. I really would suggest that you watch the Katie show, not just because I got to participate, but because Sanjay does a great job, because Cheryl and Amy Schumann do a wonderful job. Watch the 2020 episode, and obviously watch the CNN show in August. It was really pretty amazing for me to be part of this show. What was interesting too is I was in the audience, and so when they started the Katie show, it starts off with a clip from Reefer Madness, and I think the audience was surprised that they were going to have a show about marijuana. And I think that the Reefer Madness thing is humorous. But the other thing that's really interesting to me is I kind of expected some wiggle in the seat, uncomfortable people, but there weren't. There weren't people who were acting uncomfortable or any of those kinds of things. Maybe I'm just stuck in what used to be or what I perceived used to be. But yeah, it was an audience that was really comfortable with the topic of marijuana. Katie made some things that were edited out. Katie made some jokes. She talked about the fact that she's not super comfortable with the topic because just as we've said on this show time and time again, it's hard for people to make the shift after being told that this is the demon weed for so many years. Now all of a sudden you're hearing new and accurate and different information, it's hard to make that adjustment. And again, she admitted it's hard for her to make that adjustment. And she kept saying, I'm so square. Well, being a cannabis user doesn't make you cool. It really doesn't, and just, I as a patient am the least cool patient that there is. But that has nothing to do with my being a patient or not. It has everything to do with just who you are. And now it's just this mainstream thing. And hopefully, Sanjay did a nice job of convincing Katie, and that would be, if she can convince Katie, gosh, is Ellen next? I mean, we are in a brand new place. We're in a brand new place. So if you don't mind, Sam, we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back and we're going to talk about country music. No, really, we're going to talk about country music. I'm Georgia, and this is iCannabis Radio.
Are you a runner? Are you a runner who supports marijuana legalization? Run on Grass is a group of athletes actively seeking to change our marijuana laws. We speak the truth about cannabis, bringing the message through our feet to new ears. Check out runongrass.com to find out more about us, our events, and how to join up or how to sponsor a runner. If you're in the Denver area, please join us for runs or start a group in your area. Running not your thing? Any sport can do it. On grass. Runongrass.com. Let's face it, rules and regulations are complicated, especially in the field of medical marijuana. Let Medical Marijuana 101 help you get through the compliance process. We can also explain to you your employment requirements, your employees, and your business. But our work doesn't stop there. Our experience in cultivation ranges from the design of grow rooms to the diagnosis and resolution of grow problems. Visit us at www.medicalmarijuana101.com or call 303-388-7706. That's 303-388-7706.
The National Cannabis Industry Association would like to thank its members who represent the leading professional businesses in America's emerging legal cannabis market. NCIA is the only organization that has unified legitimate cannabis business across the nation to fight for real reform in Washington, D.C. For more information or to make your business a member, visit us online at thecannabisindustry.org.
Hi, welcome back. The dogs are letting themselves in and out of the studio. This is really funny. I almost brought my dog tonight. I really did. She doesn't play well with other dogs or other people, or she doesn't like to leave the house or her room.
It's kind of like a cat. Kind of.
Yeah, although she does let me snuggle her and pet her, and she wants attention. Cool. And yeah, so she's a nice version of a cat.
Nice. Well, all my cats are nice. Well, that's not true. I can't say that.
Oh my God. So since we're talking about, because you brought up cats, I've been gone for almost a week, and Warren has 2 cats. They're not my cats. We live in the same house with them, but they are definitely not mine.
Nice. Yeah.
And the little cat that we have bit me all night long.
All night long?
Bit me.
While you were sleeping?
Yeah.
Where?
Bit me. My nose in particular will bite my fingers if I'm not petting her when she wants to be petted. If I pet her too much, she bites my fingers. If I don't pet her enough, she bites my fingers. In the middle of the night, although she didn't do this last night, in the middle of the night, she'll oftentimes bite my nostril.
It's your nostril?
Mm-hmm. She's a horrible, terrible creature. It hurts a lot.
Yeah. My cat would sometimes do that, but it was like love. Or maybe they just liked me the way I smelled. Yeah,
it could be. Do you know that cats headbutt when they love you?
I did know that.
I didn't know that was a love thing. I thought that was a bitch thing.
No, there's actually one cat called, the one I'll get, it's actually illegal to have in Denver it's actually illegal to have in most cities. It's called the Savannah cat.
Okay.
And they're the biggest domestic cat you can legally own in certain places. So I'd have to leave Denver, the county of Denver, I think. And this one will headbutts hard when it is affectionate. It rams into your.
It's really funny that they do that.
Yeah,
I had no idea. I just thought that she was mean, and that's why she did it. I had no idea it was for love.
Also, kisses is when they blink. If they'll look at you in the eyes and they'll blink at you, and that's a kitty kiss. So you can blink back, and they'll.
Hey Sam. Hey Sam.
What?
I just gave you a kitty kiss.
I gave you a kiss.
So should we talk about weed?
Yeah,
we talked about kissing. We talked about daytime TV.
Love it.
We're gonna talk a little bit about the whole theme today. The whole theme today is kind of mainstream marijuana. I mean, what Michele LeMay is working on is mainstream marijuana and making things make logical sense.
Logical. That's awesome.
But I found this great article in the Huffington Post business section. Marijuana-loving beer breweries embrace weed-themed branding, defying federal government. You know, it's funny how we talk about marijuana and that the context has changed over time, that it's not just jokes, although it is. There are
puns. Turned into puns.
It's less uncomfortable funny, and now it's just silly funny because it's something you talk about sort of every day. But it says, when it comes to showing their embrace of marijuana, beer breweries are standing by the plant and sticking it to the man.
Good.
A handful of the nation's over 2,500 breweries have recently incorporated marijuana innuendo into their branding efforts, following a trend that's already seen pot jokes that used to sell everything from power bars and ice cream to fast food burritos. And so it is interesting how beer is pulling from the popularity of marijuana now as opposed to the other way around. And so the power bar ads were actually fiber bar ads. Oh, where's my Cheech and Chong bring Fiber One's magic brownies to the masses. So there was an ad campaign using Cheech and Chong, thinking that they were bringing marijuana up from Mexico, and really it was Fiber One's magic brownies.
They're good. They're good. They're really good brownies. But they're Fiber One.
They make you poop.
So you should only eat one of them.
Yeah. Well,
not
I mean,
4.
cannabis makes you poop too.
Oh, I didn't know. Well, actually, I did experiment with
fibrous.
Yes,
it's fibrous as
in
well.
In the morning.
Yes. And so that's really funny. And then, of course, there is Ben & Jerry's Magic Brownie ice cream. Get it.
Half-baked, I think. I don't know if that's
Half-baked is another. Sure it is. Absolutely.
Yeah, of course.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then I didn't know this, but there's a place called Freebird's World Burrito. Have you guys ever heard of this? They're in college towns. They started in Southern California, and they had free pot brownie with any purchase of a monster or super monster sized burrito or monster nachos on, guess what, $4.20. I kid you not. And I don't know if that's close enough. But yeah, I don't know if it was real or not. I have no idea. What I know is that, again, using marijuana to aid your branding and your advertising in a way that is pulling on that general populace. It's a popular thing. It's a mainstream thing now.
Yeah.
And so these breweries are doing the same thing. Unlike other companies which might face pushback from the edgy marketing, mainly from church pastors and the PTA, beer makers are facing off with Uncle Sam for the right to advertise as they please. The Federal Alcohol and Tobacco Tax and Trade Bureau, a small office that must approve nearly all of the alcoholic beverage labeling, is subject to an industry guidance document from 1994 that forbids weed references on alcohol labels. The government document says that, quote, drug terms or slang associated with drugs, end quote, are forbidden in beer labeling. We do not believe that responsible industry members should want or would want to portray their products in any socially unacceptable manner, it reads. That shows you just in 1994 how far we've come. The problem for Michigan-based Dark Horse Brewing Company, which wanted to distribute a brew previously sold in limited batches as Smells Like Weed IPA, after being rejected by the feds, the manager of that brewery said that Dark Horse renamed the beer to Smells Like a Safety Meeting IPA. A safety meeting is stoner slang, is a break while on the job to smoke marijuana. So they're using marijuana slang for their beer. I know that locally the Wincoop did a marijuana named beer. In Colorado, I get that. I think that's not surprising. This Dark Horse is out of Michigan. That's not that surprising either. Okay. But again, it's fantastic how we are moving into the mainstream. I'll say it again, that we are no longer counterculture.
I always thought that the the Budweiser, grab some buds. I first started seeing that when I was on probation in Pennsylvania, and I was like, I'm not allowed to. I'm on probation. I can't grab any buds, some big hairy buds, full try. I'm not allowed to. Budweiser commercials.
Damn
But-
it.
Yeah, I know, but I'm sure. I hate Budweiser, but I don't drink anyway. But no, I just thought that commercial was totally geared towards grab some buds.
Absolutely.
Grab some nugs.
Absolutely. I've missed. Oh, here's my last thing. So really, you guys never listen to country music.
My mom does.
She does. Okay. Well, your mom might understand some of these references. I think that this is fantastic. Did I mention marijuana mainstream? So Ashley Moore, she's country singer. Ever heard of her?
More.
God, come on, you guys. Come on. I haven't heard of her either, but she has a song that references marijuana.
Good.
Marijuana. Can you believe it? I am just actually thrilled. Let's see. I want to read the lyrics for you because it's pretty fantastic. She says, how can I just had this. Now I've lost it. Sorry, this print is small and my eyes are tired from my whole long day. But the line is something like, give me marijuana, not flowers. I'm wrecking my whole story because I can't find this line. I'm so bummed at myself. Let's see. And apparently, there's this whole new trend of these young country singers that openly sing about how they prefer marijuana and they like marijuana and they'll smoke marijuana.
Awesome.
And I mean, I'm not particularly surprised that it's a country singer.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit surprised that it's these younger country singers. I mean, I don't necessarily know why I am, but it's part of that whole Southern rock rebellion thing.
Totally.
And now country and Southern rock has taken this mix together, and so yeah, they it's rebellion, just like anyone talking about drinking and having sex and those kinds of things is kind of rebellion. But unlike when the Dixie Chicks talk about things, it's not going to make them lose their audience. They're not going to lose their record label. It's mainstream.
Yeah, and there's honestly, if you do sing or advertise with cannabis, I mean, there's a lot of people that are so interested and that will come out of the closet.
I think you're right. I mean, I think the more that we just have normal conversations about it, the more that it's in our music and in our culture, the less sort of interesting it becomes, and that's totally okay.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want people to be like, oh, they're talking about marijuana. I'm going to listen.
Lettuce.
Yes.
Marijuana, Wayne, eh?
None of that.
There was actually, I'm pretty sure it's a country song. I don't know when this came out, but I heard it and it's like one toke over the line.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like a country song to me, doesn't it? Do you know what song
I know
I'm
what
talking
song
about?
that is. Absolutely.
Yeah, one
Absolutely.
toke over. I don't know. I don't even know how it goes. But
Southern Rock Rebellion,
it's a marijuana
right?
song.
So don't be afraid to have those conversations. Sing about marijuana.
Sing it.
Sing it.
The cucaracha.
All the time.
It's got marijuana in it.
It's got cockroaches in it.
And marijuana. Yeah, I know.
That's a bad combination.
La cucaracha and marijuana frumer, right? It don't have any more marijuana to smoke. There's like 12 different versions of that song, though.
I'm not going to sing. Someone in the chat room just asked, you're not asking me to sing. You must be asking Sam to sing because I'm not going to sing.
I don't know Spanish. I don't know Mexican.
So can I just tell you how much I annoyed Warren over the weekend? Singing kind of reminds me of it. So we were in Vegas and every elevator had really loud music in it. And the elevators are also all mirrored.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So I danced every time we got in the elevator. And, I was watching myself dance in the mirror, whether there would be people in there or not. And, of course, the elevators all have cameras in there. And so, yeah, every time we got in an elevator, which was multiple times every single day, I would bust out my amazing moves.
Awesome.
Yeah. He was so
embarrassed.
Terribly embarrassed. And he would never tell me to stop because that's just not who he is. But I am now officially an elevator dancer.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Elevator dancer.
I've got good moves in an elevator.
I'm going to try that out because I have to take an elevator to my home.
Is it mirrored? It's
No.
best if it's mirrored. It's best if you can see what you're doing. because then you can make it even more outrageous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have some dance moves.
I've seen some of your dance moves. That's faster than I've ever seen you dance.
Thank
right
you.
there. Yeah. You are normally like,
I'm a good dancer.
you are a great Snapchat dancer.
Thank you.
Yeah, some of the best moments I've ever seen.
I'm a good dancer.
All right. Well, we are going to sing off the air. But, you know, iCannabis Radio has a fantastic week ahead, as always. Tomorrow night, Sex and Pot on Sex Pot Radio. Right? That's what they do.
I like that.
Jenny Cush. Thursday, Hemp Connoisseur from 4 to 5. Every day this week, 11 to 1, of course, is John Doe Radio. Next Monday, do not forget In the Lab with Can Lab's Jennifer Murray. And guess what happens next week?
What?
I'm on again,
Yay.
7 o'clock. Yeah, you're going to be here?
Uh-huh.
Fan-freaking-tastic. That's amazing. Chris, you going to be here? Yeah, that's how that works. Are you guys going to be here? I know you are. Don't miss another iCannabis Radio show. Tune in tomorrow at 11 for JDR. I'm Georgia, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.